Today, we're diving into how Cristiano Ronaldo took himself from being a once-in-a-generation athlete and intentionally transformed into a massive, diversified global corporate entity. Look, we all know he became famous for what he does on the football pitch, but as we're about to see, football, that's really just chapter 1 of his story.
So, let's kick things off by asking a pretty big question. What actually happens when one of the most recognizable athletes on the entire planet finally walks away from the pitch? I mean, will all that massive global influence just vanish into thin air the second he hangs up his boots?
Well, the answer is almost definitely not. And that's because he has spent decades building something way, way bigger than just a football career. He didn't just build a trophy cabinet, you guys. He built CR7. And in this explainer, we're going to look at exactly how a footballer managed to completely engineer himself into a global lifestyle brand.
We're going to break this absolute masterclass in personal brand building down into 6 core stages. We'll go through more than a footballer, the birth of CR7, selling the lifestyle, the power of ownership, the CR7 formula, and finally, life after football. Let's get right into it. All right, starting with part 1, more than a footballer. This is the foundation. Before the hundreds of millions of dollars and all that global fame, there was really just a young boy who simply wanted to play the game.
Just take a look at this progression. He leaves his family in Madeira to move to Lisbon as a young teenager. I mean, that is a massive, incredibly daunting challenge for a kid. But as he leveled up, moving from Sporting to Manchester United to Real Madrid and eventually Juventus, all that immense crushing pressure actually forged a massive realization for him. He realized that his absolute greatest asset, it wasn't just his fancy footwork, it was his name.
And that brings us to section 2, the birth of CR7. This is where the identity is born. It's this wild turning point where a simple inherited shirt number literally becomes the seed of a massive international business. Okay, so when Ronaldo first arrived at Manchester United, he was handed the famous number 7 shirt. Now, keep in mind, this was previously worn by absolute legends like David Beckham, so initially that number was just pure unadulterated pressure. But Ronaldo, he completely flipped the script. He aggressively transformed that pressure into an identity. Just 3 simple characters, CR7. It's simple, it's catchy, and it is undeniably powerful. Basically, CR7 evolved from just a squad number on the back of a jersey into this global lifestyle brand, one that represents energy, sport, youth, and sleek modern design. At this point, he wasn't just, promoting himself anymore. He was officially turning himself into a business.
Moving on to section 3, selling the lifestyle. This is where he goes totally beyond the pitch. The crucial thing to understand here is exactly how he took that newly minted identity and aggressively pushed it way outside the confines of a football stadium.
I mean, just look at the sheer volume of these business expansions. He didn't just stick to the usual athlete endorsements. He basically created his own empire. We're talking fashion and lifestyle items, the Pastana CR7 hotels, fitness centers, fragrances, technology, strategic investments, the whole shebang. And here's the genius part. While a normal company has to spend years and literally millions of dollars just trying to build up brand recognition, Ronaldo didn't have to. He already had a captive audience of hundreds of millions of people tracking his every single move.
And this specific move right here brilliantly illustrates the emotional weight behind his business decisions. Back in 2015, he partnered with the Pastana Hotel Group to launch his own chain of lifestyle hotels. And guess where the very first location was? Funchal, Madeira, his absolute hometown. Just think about that full circle moment for a second. You have this young boy who leaves a tiny island with literally nothing but a football dream, and years later, he returns as a global superstar to open a luxury hotel carrying his own name. And the thing is, that hotel isn't just selling a place to sleep, it's selling the complete CR7 lifestyle, the music, the sleek modern design, and that undeniable aura of Ronaldo himself.
Now, you might be wondering, what on earth do fashion and fragrance actually have to do with a football player? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Millions of fans already associate Ronaldo with immense confidence, impeccable style, and just absolute luxury. Let's be real, he was already a massive fashion icon before he even sold a single bottle of cologne.
So the core strategy here boils down to one simple rule. Don't just sell a product, sell an identity. Think about it. Someone who goes out and buys a CR7 fragrance or signs up for a CR7 fitness plan, they aren't buying a ticket to a football match. What they're really buying into is the discipline, the incredible physique, the elite recovery methods, and that entire luxurious lifestyle image that surrounds Cristiano Ronaldo. People who admire him, they don't just want to play like him. They want to train, dress, and essentially live like him. And honestly, that right there is the fundamental difference between launching an ordinary product and building a wildly successful personal brand.
All right, let's move right along to section 4, the power of ownership. Let's look at how this all builds into a much more sophisticated entrepreneurial mindset.
Notice the absolutely crucial difference on this screen. With an endorsement, you're just getting paid to promote someone else's company, right? It generates income for you today. But ownership, that means owning a piece of the pie yourself, which creates immense value that compounds for years and years. Ronaldo was smart enough to not just remain a celebrity pitchman. For instance, in 2024, he didn't just agree to slap his face on an ad for Whoop, the human performance company. Instead, he came on as an actual investor and global ambassador. And because we all know Ronaldo is notoriously obsessed with physical performance, this investment fits flawlessly with his existing lifestyle. It really showcases him as a mature entrepreneur who is actively focused on building long-term generational wealth.
But what's the underlying engine driving all this ownership and rapid expansion? It's attention. I mean, his social media reach spans well into the hundreds of millions of people. Think about that scale for a second. Every single photograph he posts, every goal clip, every business announcement, it instantly reaches a global population that's literally larger than the United States and Brazil combined. And he does it without having to spend a single dime on traditional advertising. It's wild.
All of this creates what we in the business world call the flywheel. It goes like this. The sport of football is what originally created his massive audience. Then that huge, super engaged audience unlocked incredibly lucrative commercial opportunities. And finally, those successful businesses, in turn, make the overarching CR7 brand even stronger and much more visible on a global scale. It's this brilliant, self-sustaining cycle where absolutely everything connects right back to his core personal story of ambition, discipline, and relentless success.
Which brings us to section 5, the CR7 formula. Let's actually distill everything we've just analyzed into a clear, actionable framework.
So here's the basic 5-step blueprint. 1. Become exceptional at what you do. 2. Build massive recognition. 3. Create a distinct identity. 4. Expand that identity into brand new industries. And 5. Pivot toward true ownership. But you know what the single biggest takeaway is here? He absolutely did not wait for retirement to start doing this. He was laying this massive business foundation while he was still dominating at the absolute peak of his playing career.
And finally, section 6, life after football. The big question, what actually happens when those boots finally come off for good?
Look, the reality is that every single football career has an ending. Eventually, there's going to be a final match, a final goal, and one last celebration. But the CR7 brand? That brand doesn't ever have to retire. The hotels can just keep booking guests, the fitness centers can keep operating, the equity investments will just continue to compound. This whole empire was deliberately, meticulously designed to survive the final whistle. He wasn't just spending his whole career preparing for his next season on the pitch, he was successfully preparing for the entire rest of his life.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to wrap up this explainer. When people look back at Cristiano Ronaldo, say 50 years from now, are they only going to remember the goals, the shiny trophies, and the smashed records? Or will another part of his legacy stand out just as prominently? The savvy businessman, the genius brand builder, the strategic investor. You see, he didn't just stop and ask, how much money can I make from playing this sport? Instead, he asked, what kind of empire can I build because this sport made my name known all around the world? That shift in mindset literally changed everything for him. So as we close out, I want you to ask yourself, what platform are you currently standing on? And more importantly, what exactly are you building with it for tomorrow?